Hey everyone, welcome to the Power Source Podcast. Did you know that there's a Supreme Court law on the books that goes back to the 50s that allows for the Bible to be taught to public school kids? We're going to talk about that today with my good friend, Austin Strader. He's the Director of Advancement for Lifewise Academy. Austin Strader, welcome to the Power Source Podcast, my friend.
Thanks, man. Thank you for having me.
Hey, I really appreciate you taking the time to join me this evening. This is going to be a great time chatting, catching up on old times and what you're doing right now. The first question I have for you, though, is what exactly does a Director of Advancement do?
That is a great question. Honestly, I think it's, it's not about titles or crowns, as we all know, but I think it's the coolest title I've ever had. Director of Advancement in the corporate world, a lot of people know as fundraisers. But for Lifewise, what Director of Advancement means is to advance the mission, advance the kingdom, no matter the cost, no matter the task. So it's a very here I am, Lord, send me type of title.
Come on, man. That's awesome. Now, for those that are at home and may not even know what Lifewise is or anything about your mission, I want to show a trailer for a new film that's coming out October 23rd, just tomorrow. It's going to be landing in theaters and it's going to tell you all about Lifewise. Let's watch that real quick.
School, kids, Bible, somehow during school hours, you can't do that. That's illegal.
Decades ago, the Bible was systematically removed from the public school day.
There is still constantly Bible reading and prayer recitation in the public schools.
The Supreme Court has made a judgment. Why do they put the battleground in the public schools?
The most transformative book in all of human history, banned from the one place we educate 90% of our population.
The Bible's impact is hard to overestimate. It's the foundation of modern science.
Faith and common sense is really nonsense, and it is destroying all the beautiful things the Bible had brought to the Christian civilization.
Yeah, it's a problem. But what if the separation of church and state has been widely misunderstood? And what if the solution to reintegrate the Bible into the public school day has been right under our nose for the last 70 years?
It's not atheism that's going to bring peace to the world.
The Bible as the key resource in every child's education is indispensable.
There's a way to bring it back. Many call it a movement. Others call it a loophole so big, you could drive a bus through it.
Bro, that looks amazing. Talk to me about how that came about.
Yeah. Lifewise is an incredible mission. And really the mission is to bring Bible education to public school students during school hours, not having any barriers to entry, nothing keeping, all the logistics that keep people from Bible education. You can do you can do before school and after school programs, but there's a lot of logistics. You have church, but the craziest fact that I've heard is that 90% of students are attending a public school, but only 20% of those have ever attended a church. So that's where Lifewise comes and steps in and fills in the gap. And they created this movie to be able to amplify the voice and mission of what we're doing so that we can be able to get it to as many people as possible.
And what I really found pretty interesting about the whole thing is I had no idea this was happening or could happen. I mean, this is new information, but it's something you guys have been doing for a while.
Yeah. Yeah. It's, I think the most common question whenever we tell people, we keep using the same phrase over and over again, during school hours, because people and they go, that's illegal.
Yeah, that's I could totally hear people going, wow, is that legal? Can we do that?
And then I'll tell them about it. And they're like, so it's an after school program? I'm like, no, it's during school hours. So, there was a Supreme Court ruling in 1952 that allowed for what's called a release time religious instruction program to be installed in public school. Essentially, you can teach Bible education as long as it is off school property. It has to be privately funded, and it has to have the parents' consent. So we're not forcing Bible down people's throat. We're not trying to take away from the school's funding or from federal funding. And it's such a beautiful thing to not really have to irritate anybody, but still have such a bold approach to what we're doing. And so, yeah, with that Supreme Court ruling, that opened up the door. But I don't know if you heard what I said, 1952. So why has no one been doing it?
That is the question, Austin. That is the thing that I keep coming back to. If this has been on the books and this has been a possibility for this long, why is no one else doing it?
You know, before Lifewise started, 2018, there were about 350,000 school students that had time released religious programming in their schools. You think of like the Orthodox Jewish, in the New York City, that there were people that were taking advantage of this. The thing is there's a lot of hurdles to get over. You basically are having to start up another private school. You're having to think about transportation, logistics, money, who's teaching it, what curriculum are you teaching? There's a lot of barriers to entry. We've even heard of other people that are now on the Lifewise team that have done this before Lifewise existed. And it took them 4 years to get one installed into a school. And even then they had 12 people that attend the class. And then 1 year later, the whole program fell apart.
Wow.
So that is where Lifewise, their mission was, okay, it's possible. We don't have a monopoly on this idea. Anyone can go and do it. But what if we created a plug and play system that took care of all of the barriers to entry and just allowed people to say, I want to do this. And we go, let's partner together and do this, because it's completely community driven. Well, we've got all the curriculum, we've got all the logistics, we figured out all the rough edges of what needs to happen, what finances need to be there. That's my job as director of finances, to make sure that the funding is there for those students in that community. But once a community says we want this, all it takes is 50 signatures in a school district. And now
Lifewise
Academy can be in any one of those schools in that school district.
50 signatures is all it takes. Wow. And for the record, this is different than your normal campus Bible clubs that a lot of schools have, or, depending on the states or whatever. This is a totally different animal, because you're actually taking them somewhere and pouring into them, aren't you?
Yes. Yeah. So I'll give you an example. In one of the first schools that they did was simply 150 feet across the street from the school. But you think we're in Texas, we're in the Bible Belt, so it's pretty common for us. Around every single school, there's a church nearby. And so very common, what a program could look like is during that specials or elective category. So it's not going to replace their academics. It's not going to replace something that would be critical to their learning. That's important for people to know, is that we would come over there with a teacher, security, maybe a bus. If it was a farther travel, we bring them off school property. We teach them the entire Bible over a specific course, whether that's a 3-year program or a 5-year program, or in some situations, we even do a Bible in 1 year. But here's the thing, and why people even love it beyond just Christians, is this is not just biblical education, but it's also character-based education. So the results are showing for themselves. We're going to bring somebody into the school. We're going to teach them the Bible. We're going to teach them, let's say, Adam and Eve and God creating life. So this class is going to be about respecting life. We're going to teach them some Bible verses. We're going to teach them about respecting their teachers, respecting their parents, respecting the lives of their fellow students, and why life is precious. And then it always brings it back to the gospel, because Lifewise is completely, unswervingly, unashamedly gospel-centered. So it will still bring all the way from Adam and Eve, where's Jesus in all of this? And who is he today? And why is he important? And so it is a very, very powerful, very focused program. And it's done with such excellence. I've been astonished joining this team to see how clean and streamlined everything is. I've walked in and 3 weeks into the job, and I already feel like I have all the tools I need. I'm equipped with everything I need to know, and I'm ready to go. And that's not normal in any job.
No, not at all. Not in any job or ministry, I might add. I have to ask though, like with something like this, I can only imagine that you get pushback either from parents or maybe sometimes from school boards, things like that. Tell me a little bit about some of the pushback you may have received. And if so, how do you guys handle that?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. I think the biggest thing is that when that Supreme Court ruling is brought up, it kind of squashes everything. Who's not going to want less suicide, less depression, less disruptive students, less kids getting expelled and poor behavior? Who's not going to want that? So when we even approach people that are giving pushback, we say, hey, listen, number one, we're not forcing the Bible down people's throats. This is just for those who want it. We're not trying to take away from their education. Education is extremely important. I mean, I think everybody can agree that what needs to be focused on in school. But there is a period in time where they have that elective choice to go and learn about the Bible. Right now, I think the biggest barrier to entry with, some legality or pushback from parents and teachers is there are some states that are called shall states, some states that are called may states, and some that don't have any laws at all. So Lifewise does work with legislators to be able to put laws in place to make sure that it is at least possible if there's community interest. Second, there's been some pushback. There's definitely crews out there that have formalized and organized to really dislike what Lifewise is doing.
Well, sure. I can only imagine that being the case, because I mean, anywhere that there's light, dark is going to rise up against it. And especially in the, the political climate that we're in right now. I mean, it only takes just a quick look at what's happening on X or at the news, and you can see how stark the divide is between good and evil right now in our society. With the passing and the assassination of Charlie Kirk and all the things that happened since then, I mean, evil has really reared its head. But the thing that I love, Austin, is we are seeing such a resurgence of revival amongst young people. I saw a statistic that, Bible sales are up amongst young people. A church attendance is up amongst young people. And this was the one that got me, was current Barna research shows that church attendance is up among young males. Right now, we're actually losing the battle for young females. Young females are dropping out of church, while young males are actually getting into church at a higher level than ever before. I think that's interesting, don't you?
I do. Why do you think that is?
I think that they've realized for years, there was this whole thing about toxic masculinity. And I think there was an attempt to put men in a box, right? And basically put them to where they have to apologize for being how God created them. And I think there's been a return to this idea of godly maleness, for lack of a better way of saying it, is that it's okay to be a man, and it's okay to want to understand who you are in Christ. And so with guys like Charlie and some of these other voices that are coming up on the right, they're encouraging these guys, look, be a father, be a husband, get married, raise kids, all the things that have seemed kind of foreign in recent generations. Now they're back at the forefront again. And it's all because of what you guys are doing, with a push and a focus once again on the morality, biblical morality in our society. I think the resurgence of that is something that we're going to be seeing results from for decades to come.
Yeah, no, I agree. One of the things that I felt like was such a highlight to me whenever I was with you at Victory News and Flashpoint was there was all this chaos going on in the world. Everything's being attacked at every angle, at every level, at every age group, at every race, sex, the whole 9 yards. But it was really interesting that once you started to see the strategic plan, it always started back with the kids.
Yes.
Think about is it the Satan statue, Baphomet? What is the statue?
Yeah.
That's got the two kids sitting next to Satan.
Yeah.
It's pretty intentional. And I felt like at one point the Lord put on my heart, this is where you need to go.
Yeah.
And this is what you need to do. This is what you need to focus on is the kids. Because if you can raise up a child in the way that they need to go, the rest is history.
Yeah.
I believe it was Barna that actually said that between the ages of 8 and 13 are when someone's worldview is solidified. And after that, the chances of their worldview changing are actually very slim.
Yeah. That's totally true. And that's been historically accurate, for generations. That's pretty much the standard. And since you opened the door, let's go back for a second. Let's go back a few years, because those that are watching may not realize the history we have. But going back to September 2020, Gene Bailey called me and we launched this show called Flashpoint. And Then a few months later, we launched Victory News on the Victory Channel. And during that time, I was introduced to you because you were best friends with who?
Reed
Bailey, Gene's son. And so all of a sudden, this tall guy, Austin, shows up and he becomes our playback op. He's working graphics for us. He's doing all these things in the department. And I thought it was really funny because you really weren't looking for that at that time, were you?
No. In fact, what I specifically said to my wife the night before I interviewed for that job is I want to do something with purpose. I just don't want to go back to ministry. And then I show up to that job to realize not only is it ministry, but it's also politics. And I was like, I want nothing to do with this. So
you're welcome.
Yeah. Well, there you go.
And the rest is history. No, but so that's great though, Austin, because I appreciate you being so honest about it, because I remember you were like, I don't know what this is. But there was a moment pretty early on. I mean, it didn't take a few shows for you to click in. What was the point where you went, oh man, this is what I need to be doing?
You know, I think it was spending the years that I did in corporate America. I worked, a lot in San Francisco, Silicon Valley, startups, a lot of startup companies. And with that comes typically a more left-leaning liberal culture. And I just slowly started being shut up. And it was like I was like I had a muzzle on. Being able to be in an environment like Victory News and Flashpoint, where number one, I could now speak the way that I wanted to speak. Two, you had people and community around you that were also speaking the same thing. And then third is being shown the truth over and over and over again. And it's in your face. It's what we focused on from 7:30 in the morning until sometimes 11 p.m. at night, is just to sit there in front of all of the news that's going on in the world. And how could you not ignore it? I didn't have a chance as a young man, self-centered and, my little glasses on, kind of like the horse with the blinders, staying focused on me, my little, career ladder, my family. It just kind of opened all of that up. And it really was a flashpoint that
look what you did there. I like that.
And it was a call out. I remember Gene pointed at the camera and said, what are you going to do to stand up for the truth? Because this can't be ignored. And he used that Ronald Reagan quote, is that freedom is not something that's just passed down through bloodlines. It has to be fought for generation after generation. And if it's not fought for, if I don't stand up at my age, then I'm going to be telling my grandchildren about what it was like to be a free man. And that was really frightening to me. And for at least for the next year and a half that I worked there, that was my way of stepping in. That was my part of getting out the truth to, millions of people watching the shows.
Yeah.
And it was at that point, it was at the end of that time with y'all that I just remember God going, watch what's about to happen next. You love this job. You love what you're doing. I love what you're doing, but I got something else for you.
Man. And he launched you into a whole different stratosphere. It's funny because I don't know how it was for you, but I know when I started the show, I've jokingly told Gene multiple times, I wasn't looking to do live TV. I wasn't looking to do news, and I wasn't looking to do politics. Now, but God had a sense of humor. But I've always been interested in news, and I've always been interested in politics. I remember, even as a young man, I'd be in the car with my dad and he'd have Rush Limbaugh on the radio. And so I was always aware of the concept of media narratives, right? And the fact that there's definitely factions at play to try to promote a narrative that is opposite from what is really the truth. And it was during that season, those early years of Victory News and Flashpoint, where it became glaringly obvious. I mean, you could hear something on mainstream media and I would immediately know, oh, that's a lie. This is the truth. And then we would go find the opportunity to share truth, because most people that are sitting at home and they're just turning on ABC or CBS or whatever flavor of news that they're getting, most of them are not getting the actual story. They're getting the spin. They're getting the narrative. They're getting something that was crafted to elicit a response out of them. And so like you, I remember sitting there going, man, we are doing something radically different. Not only was it conservative, but it was conservative from a place of faith. And that, I think, is the thing that just again, like with what you're doing right now with Lifewise, I think that's what sets it apart. But you came to me one day and you said, "Hey, I think my time here is wrapping up. You have another opportunity." And you went from Victory News and Flashpoint to a position with
Patriot Mobile.
Patriot Mobile. Come on, man.
The craziest part of that was when I went and talked to you and Micah and Gene about it, was that Flashpoint wasn't doing live events yet.
Right.
And I had this feeling of, hey, I want your blessing. I don't feel like my time is done. I just know my work here in this position is done. I just know we're going to be connected. We're going to stay connected. I mean, look at what's happening right now. But I was like, I feel like I saw myself standing on a stage speaking with you guys. And keep in mind, I was just working behind a laptop. Like my little computer in the control room, I never was on the camera. That didn't happen. And who am I to be on there? That you guys got a bunch of A-list, B-list people coming in, huge people of influence and means. And why would I have that vision? And it wasn't but maybe 4 or 5 months into that job that 2023 rolled around. You guys said, "Hey, we are going to do the Take Back America tour," if I remember right.
Yep.
And yeah, I was welcomed with open arms, and they said, "Yeah, you can talk about Patriot Mobile from the stage." And before I knew it, I was sitting down having a 45-minute panel interview with Gene.
Right.
Go, hold on, we're in an arena. You're talking to me. This is pretty wild.
It was wild, but and I gotta say, Austin, and in all seriousness, man, I remember sitting in the TV truck, and I was so proud of you because again, I knew it was in you. I mean, you had done management, you'd done other things before I even met you, so I knew you had it in you. But when you left us to go to greener pastures with Patriot, it was interesting because sitting back and watching you deliver with passion, man. It's like, what I love about you is the fact that you don't ever phone it in. I've never known you to ever phone it in. If you're not feeling it or you're not all into it, you're not going to do it. And I really appreciate that about you. And I remember sitting there kind of feeling like the proud big brother going, "Yeah, man, you go. That's awesome. That is awesome."
Yeah. It was.
So it's been a journey, hasn't it?
Yeah. It has been. I mean, to go from not caring about politics, pushing away ministry. I wouldn't say that I was pushing away religion altogether, but I was just pushing away ministry, and then to be in there. And that was, just to reel back, you guys were delivering the truth with faith. And that was the key piece to me, because the world was getting crazier by the moment. I had been married 5 years at the time, had my first kid, bought my first house. I'm seeing property taxes, riots in the street. I mean, come and take it, toilet paper signs, because people are fighting in Costco over toilet paper.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just mass chaos. And it was good to be anchored with a good group of people around me. But there was a point where it went, "Hey, now you got to do this for other people as well."
Yeah. Yeah. It was awesome. It was awesome to watch. But you're right. There's something you mentioned, being newly married with a baby, and there's something about fatherhood. And I didn't intend to go down this track, but there's something about being a father. When you see chaos in the world, you realize that you have a responsibility to be a source of stability, a source of strength. You have to be the one bringing truth to your family. You have to be the one to make sure that you're countering the culture that wants to just wrap them up and take them out. And I think that's what's so important about what things like the news and Flashpoint and this podcast and Lifewise. And there's so many voices now that I think have gotten the memo that it's not good for the Christian community to sit on the sidelines anymore. We have to be involved in what's going on if we're going to change our culture. Because when we weren't out there on the front lines and we were letting someone else handle it, things fell apart. But Christians have a voice, we have a place, and for us to step up and go, we've got to influence the culture instead of letting the culture influence us. It's something that's so radically important, isn't it?
It is. Yeah, it definitely puts a greater sense of purpose into what you're doing and why you're doing it every single day. I mean, there are so many people, and none of us are perfect with fatherhood, but there's so many people that just don't take fatherhood, parenting, family that serious, but then it starts to bite them later on in the years. Luckily, I have a Holy Spirit fearing wife that helps put me in my place really quickly if I ever get out of place.
Amen, brother. I have the same thing.
I know, seriously, lifesavers. But yeah, it puts things in perspective. It's really funny. But it's the one position, being a father, it's the one position that it's a title that you now have, and it's a role and responsibility that you can't get out of and you can't ignore. You can put your head in the sand all you want to, but there's a responsibility and a wonderful burden that gets placed on your shoulders. And it's this loving conviction that draws you into caring about someone other than yourself. And I think if you can hone that in the home and correct selfish behavior in the home and actually learn how to take care of a child, learn how to take care of your wife, because some fathers are really great fathers, not great husbands, but then they learn to be better husbands once they're fathers. A lot of good push and pull there. But you can, once you have a healthy family and the order of the home is in place, you can be able to give out of that abundance. It's not just the parents, it's the children too that are going off and doing that. One story about Lifewise really quick was one of the recent stories that just came out, and you'll see in the movie, is that there was a young girl that said, hey, I want to go and do Lifewise. Who is not going to want to get out of school to go ride on a big red bus? I mean, what kid is not going to want to? But she's hearing all of her friends talk about God. So she goes home and talks to her parents and say, why don't you guys talk about God? And of course, tears are rolling down their face because they were Christians. They knew about God. But there's a difference between believing in God and knowing him and obeying him. Very different things. But all of us get distracted. We focus on other things and we start to slowly drift away before we're nowhere close. And that one little question, because of Lifewise, school was in her school, sparked this interest with her parents, brought them to tears and said, yeah, we'll give you consent to go to the class. She's coming back week after week, pouring in truth into her parents. They start going to the church that the Lifewise Academy was partnered with. 9 people in their family got baptized. I mean, wow. Aunts, uncles, cousins, grandparents, insane story. And that's just literally one of thousands of stories that are coming out of the program. But it's funny how out of the mouths of babes.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm glad you brought it back to Lifewise, because really that's the focus. It all starts with these kids. If they can latch on to the reality of who God is at a young age and what all that means, it'll stick with them for their entire life. It'll stick with them through college. It'll stick with them through their marriage, through being parents themselves. But it all starts, if we can get them when they're young, when they're children, and they can really understand the reality and the truth of who God is, it changes their life. Absolutely changes their life. Where can people view or watch this new movie that's coming out?
Yeah,
October 23rd.
Yeah, October 23rd. The movie is called Off School Property. You can go to lifewise.org to be able to go and view the website and be able to navigate that way as well. But it is a one-night event. It's in movies or movie theaters nationally. So you can go to Fathom. Fathom is the one that we've partnered with to be able to distribute this to all the theaters. And then soon, just teasing out there, soon after the movie premiere, maybe in 30 days or so, we'll also have it on Angel Studios app as well.
Come on, man. Angel Studios. Big time, brother. That's awesome. So tell people how they can follow you and follow Lifewise and find out all the information that they need if they want to maybe start a chapter even in their school.
Yeah, absolutely. You can reach out to me directly. My email is austinstrader@lifewise.org. You can also go to lifewise.org to be able to go and click find a school. This will be able to tell what kind of area of interest there is already in your community. You may be the first signature that signs up that says, I want this in my community. Or you may notice that there's 49 signatures and you are the tipping point that brings Lifewise into your community. Important little note on that is you don't have to have a kid in school to be able to sign the petition. If you are in their community and you care about the community, sign the petition. Because as you know, what comes out of the schools implodes into the community.
Yeah.
And so you have to go out and do that. That's the biggest way that people can get involved right now. The moment you sign up for that petition as well, you'll get alerted when it launches. You'll get alerted when there's funding that's needed in the local community. That's the way that we do all of our marketing. So that's the best way to get connected and plugged in with Lifewise.
Austin, man, I am so glad you joined me tonight. Thank you for being on the Power Source podcast. And thank you for what you do, brother. I am really proud of you.
Awesome, man. Well, thank you, Jason. Thank you for having me.